This is outrageous because Japan just made a massive move in the global market. But let's just get some context and remember what's been going on here, January 2026. Before all of this started happening, President Donald Trump recalled 30 ambassadors across the world that were at different embassies throughout Asia and Africa mostly, and told them come back to America. Now, not all of these countries are going to lose their U.S. embassies. Some are, but some are being replaced. Number two, we had airstrikes happen and President Donald Trump captured Maduro of Venezuela. Number three, we just saw yesterday that the South African rand, an African currency, is increasingly stronger against the dollar. Now, don't forget, the European Union and America are at odds right now. Europe already dropped about 100 million government bonds because of the Greenland situation. Now, they did not go in full totality with the 108 billion that they're cautioning that they may do, but just yesterday, Japan made a massive move in the global market by also dumping U.S. government bonds. Now, they said that they're not going to just dump them all immediately, but over the next 12 to 18 months, Japan is dumping their federal U.S. government bonds, which I guarantee you is going to tank the dollar even faster.
Yeah, as the dollar is falling, certain assets is rising. So you got to pay attention to what's going on. So even though Japan is dumping these bonds, we know what's going to come next. It's printing money, right? I know we're hearing everything with Donald Trump talking about $4,000 for, stimulus in a way. But this is just going to cause inflation. This is just going to, it's going to fall on the consumer's head. It's just going to fall on the American citizens. Everything's just going to seem all right, but it's just a big cycle that you go in. So you really got to pay attention to what is happening. I'll say not even decade after decade, but I'll say year after year, because this last year, the U.S. dollar lost 10% of its value. So that's something to really consider.
Wow.
Last 6 years, I believe it was 25%.
Indeed, it was.
So that's 6 years ago.
That was just in this last year. That's outrageous.
Yeah, it's getting serious, guys. So this is why we say go somewhere where the cost of living will last and be cheaper.
This is going to ripple into your finances as an expat. It's going to decrease your currency strength. And let's talk about what this literally means for you right now if you're a digital nomad, entrepreneur, or retiree. Because Japan, if you did not know, has been one of the largest holders of U.S. treasuries for literal decades. Remember the World War II era, where it was like, yes, they just dropped those bombs on Japan. Japan was now an ally with the U.S., one of their closest allies in the world, apart from the U.K. and places like that in Europe. And, Japan has significantly reduced these holdings in some months by billions. Yes, the B word, billions. This shift happens as the dollar crashes. But, you may be thinking, why does this matter to me? Why does this matter if I'm in Africa? Well, my friend, this U.S. dollar being weakened is going to show you the new world order that is impending, because the dollar may not be the main currency of the new world order, or it most likely won't be. And if USD weakens, local currencies that you have in Africa, like the Ghanaian cedi, the South African rand, are going to strengthen relative to the USD. If interest rates move up, capital flows favor the dollar, which is going to pressure those weaker currencies. And of course, you have your cost of livings, your savings, and your investments. People are already sounding the alarm, saying, hey, I just dumped my 401k. I need to get into gold. I just dumped my 401k. I need to get into silver. It's quite literally like the 1920s before they went into the Great Depression. Because if you speak to people from those eras, seemingly they had their monies in banks and they would just disappear overnight. So those were the people that wanted to keep their money under the bed. But keeping your money under the bed won't necessarily help this time around. You should instead be purchasing some gold. Now, in this segment of the video, we also need to talk about this question that I had in my mind as our research assistant prepared this video today. The question is, as gold is increasing, as the dollar is decreasing in value globally, 10% decrease in the last year, 25% decrease in the last 6 years, that's a big deal. How is the economy still strong? The S&P 500 hit its highest highs yesterday with Nvidia, Windows, Apple, all the folks that are the tech companies. So how exactly is that happening? Let's break it down.
All-time highs is being made every day. Like my wife was just saying, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, probably today, you know, the energy stocks is probably hitting all-time highs. So you got to ask yourself, like, what is really going on? Gold is hitting all-time highs, the stocks is hitting all-time highs, the US dollar is falling super low. And let me tell you this, it's not the lowest. I just did a video earlier and I just showed everyone the charts about how low the dollar can get, and it can get even lower. So this is not the worst. So that means that gold can be even higher. So, but I did want to tell you guys this, because last night I just had a call with one of our clients, and she kind of explained how crazy America's getting, and she wants to leave as soon as possible, but she has to figure out her finances. She has to move some things around to make sure her finances will line up. And this is what we talk about in our workshops. This is what we go over about the banking, about how to hedge your funds in certain investments, in gold, right, in silver, in copper, just whatever you believe that is going to sustain you the best. This is what we go over in our Mature Adult Intensive. This is what we go over in the consultations that we do.
Head to www.journeywithusmove-to-africa.com/services. But there are only 2 slots left. You might want to do that like right now. We're heading into February. We begin cohort 5 on February 8th. Now, this is why the economy can do well while gold, silver, copper, and everything else increase. A strong economy measures 4 core areas. Number 1, GDP, which is the gross domestic product growth. What the country is producing. It's not necessarily about food production, it's about monetary production. The US produces AI technologies and is home of Nvidia, Windows, Apple, some of the largest companies in the world, to be quite honest. Number 2, corporate profits. The corporations are doing quite well. I'm sure Bill Gates is getting richer. I'm sure the founder of Nvidia is getting richer. I'm sure the founder of Apple is also getting richer, right? And then number 3, employment relative to the rest of the world. The US has a relatively employed segment of society if you would compare it to other European countries, even African countries, maybe not Asian countries. They may be neck and neck there. And then number 4, consumer activity. Americans have credit. Americans have different financial instruments that they can use, even if they don't have cash, even if they don't have, owning their homes, they have a mortgage, but they have that financial leverage that is called debt that they can still purchase things, especially when you have emergency situations like a winter storm and everybody goes out and purchases everything in the grocery store. That is the American mindset. Americans are a very consumer-based society. And strong currency instead measures things a little bit different. This is the moment where you should hit the like button. This is the moment where you should share with 5 to 10 people, because a lot of people do not understand the difference between strong global currency and strong economy. They're 2 quite different things. My husband just said earlier, the US dollar lost 25% of its power in the last 6 years. And just in the last year, it had a 10% drop. So it seems to be steadily decreasing on an acceleration mode. Now listen to this. A strong global currency measures number one, global trust, which the US is in a super duper trust recession right now. Europe doesn't trust the US. Africa has been not trusting the US. You can tell because Niger, Mali, Chad, Burkina Faso do not allow Americans in. Asia doesn't trust the US. There are more countries around the world that now look at the US like, oh, you kind of look like a dictator. And so that tarnishes the dollar. Number two, purchasing power. Okay, this is why you can have $20 and it goes less far when you're in Ohio, Florida, Michigan, because you're still in American society. So the dollar is physically still there, but you can't purchase as much as you used to be able to just last year. Number three, relative value versus other currencies. This is where the US dollar performs lower against the Great British Pound. The US dollar performs lower against the Kuwait dinar. The US dollar performs lower than other Middle Eastern currencies as well. And now you're starting to see even African currencies like the South African rand and Zambia kwacha to actually have a little bit more strength against the dollar. Now, the demand for holding it is a store of value. And so we have a decrease in demand for actually holding the dollar. Like, you know, supply and demand. Well, the US dollar doesn't really have the demand. They have the supply because they love to print all the money. They love to just have it out flying around. But there's not the demand. Governments, again, like Japan, are dumping US government bonds. They do not want to hold dollar in their reserves. What do they want to hold? Gold. They're returning to the gold standard.
Basically, these governments do not want to hold debt, right? If you are wise in these last days, you do not want to hold debt. And that's basically how rich people stay rich. Wealthy people stay wealthy. They don't hold debt. They put their resources into assets
that are going to appreciate.
That is going to appreciate and continue to. And, you know, if they need to move it somewhere else, they will. So this is why it's important to really know this information and understand the markets. Because, I mean, I just wish that we knew it a little bit sooner. Because it's like, man, if the money that, you know, came and went, we could have really held it in certain assets. And once those assets started to slow down, we can move it to another class of assets.
Yeah.
And that's the name of the game.
Yeah, that's
like,
it.
You really study the wealthy people. The wealthy people give you the free game. And that's what they do. They don't just hold US dollar and say, I have billions of trillions of US dollars. No,
not when it's falling. Yeah. That's not a wise thing to say. And like you were saying, America's growth is funded by debt. Even OpenAI came out and said, you know, we have so much debt relative to our revenue for our business. So we're thinking of moving to a different model. You may see ads in ChatGPT for that reason, because their business is not as profitable as they want it to be relative to the debt, because America will gladly give you an SBA loan and gladly give you a car loan and a mortgage and a this loan and a that loan and a was that thing flex pay and layaway and all of these things. But this represents a society of people that do not have liquidity and assets. This is why you see people now who are wise in finance saying, hey, your best move isn't necessarily to buy a home for financial security. That really only makes the banking institutions richer. Your best move is to use that money that would go to your mortgage and put it in gold, put it in silver. When the economy is crashing, if it was a greater economy and the dollar was stronger, you may put it in AI chips or put it into Apple. But the economy is not like that. So this is the time to put that into gold and silver, because true wealth is not just you having a house. True wealth is your liquidity and your ability to take money out and to take cash out, if that's something that you need to do. Because the finance pros, they are coming out and saying it now. They are literally, the way that America's falling, new information is coming out from financial professors who are really like assessing, and they're like, we've even been taught wrong in school. Why are we getting into all of this mortgage debt when they're gonna have to pay off interest, when they could have invested that same amount over 30, 40, 50 years into the stock market, into gold, and been multi-millionaires. It just doesn't make sense anymore. And capital is not rotating, it's disappearing. It's just, US dollar is just basically falling off of a cliff into mid-air flight, okay? From US dollar to equities to commodities to foreign markets, the dollar is not growing in the way that it should be. And gold is rising alongside equity strength, which usually signals we don't trust the money, but we still play the game. And this is why gold is going to continue to rise in a strong economy. Gold hit 5,300 today. Again, for the people last week, when gold was at 4,800. Is that what it was at last week?
Yeah, it was
4,800.
4,600, 4,800.
You would have been up by how much percentage?
Yeah.
Somebody get a calculator, do the math, because that's what you lost out on by not understanding finance and economics. We pay attention to finance and economics because we're entrepreneurs. Naturally, as an entrepreneur, you begin to look at macro and microeconomics. You begin to look at politics and geopolitics. You begin to look at, okay, what is my global mobility strategy as the US is crashing? Literally, go visit the description so you can choose the link that's best for you right now, because I don't hear nobody else talking about this. That is in our community, people that look like, not many people understand what's happening. And even if they somewhat understand, they're still living in America, which really doesn't help their situation at all. Still living in America as it's falling does not really help you. It does not help your children's children. It doesn't help your great-grandchildren. It doesn't help your nieces and nephews. It literally just helps Donald Trump. And that's it. That's who it helps. And so, yeah, y'all, this is why gold is rising and the economy is still doing well.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because I was just thinking about how our clients in the mature adult intensive, when they spend, or I don't want to say spend, when they invest in this course, in this program,
In this intensive.
it is more about the value that they are getting and the connections, and it's not a liability. It's really something that's going to increase them and learn how to move around when they are ready to, get out of America.
For the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, because that's something that is very, very important. That's the big flex nowadays, is living somewhere outside of America where your dollar will stretch, and you have to get used to where you're going to move. You can't just pop up and say everything is just all good and gravy. Everything's just going to be just like America. No, I'm telling you, there's certain things that you have to learn how to move around and learn how to move your money around too.
Before you leave. That's what we did before we even left.
It takes time. It takes time. That's what people have to understand. Like, we know lots of people that came and then they're kind of confused, but the confusion made them go back. And it's like, no, you have to stick this out. It's not just, you just come over here and everything's good. You just got to really, really buckle down, and this is the time to do so. It's not time to play around. It's really time to get serious about your life, because it's really a life or death situation. That's what it comes down to, like, really. So, all praises, but it's time, family. It's time.
Yeah. We'll see you on the next video. Shalom, shalom. Again, hit the like button, subscribe, share this with as many people as possible. And we can't wait to talk to you for the next topic.
Shalom, family.